My name's Harold, and I got the idea to go ahead and make some flywheels like Mr. Pete. Everybody wants to do whatever the big boys are doing. So I've cast up a few of these, and I've got them painted red. And now I've got to bore the center hole and ream it out. I ordered a couple of 3/16 reamers because they were cheaper than the shipping, and I'm going to ream them out, and then we'll chuck them up in the lathe and turn them and try to come up with finished flywheels. I actually cast probably about 12 or 13 flywheels, and I discovered that you got to keep pouring without stopping if you want a good flywheel, which is pretty much the same thing I'd seen with bullets. I made this mold with this tall top because I was thinking, well, I would put a little channel off to one side of the flywheel and maybe make one of the little counterweight things, crankshaft things like Mr. Pete had shown he had cast some off. But the first thing I learned was my hole was too small and I couldn't get enough lead in there, so I drilled the hole bigger, and that made a big improvement. And I've still got kind of a small hole there, which I may have to make a little bit bigger, but it was the amount of lead I put in that was the big thing. I was using a gravy ladle and pouring it in there, and it was only about 3/4 enough, so I'd have to get another scoop and pour it in, and the lead was cooling while I was doing that. And I've got a bottom pour leaf production pot, but I can't get this up under the bottom of it because it's too tall, so I may have to trim a little off the bottom and trim a little off the top until I can get it to set up under there, or modify the production pot to make just one continuous pour. I think that would make it easier, but anyway, the thing turned out with me casting about 13 or 14 wheels to get 4 relatively good ones, and I noticed one of the ones that out of the 4 may not have a perfect spoke on one of the spokes, so that was this is still a project in progress, I guess, but we're going to get there eventually. We will we'll have everything worked out, and it'll be easy for me to make these flywheels just one right after the other. So we'll cut from this to this will be part 4 of the flywheel project, and it'll be the last one. And if I modify it, I may show something later on as part of some of the video. But for now, that's it with the mold part of it. We're going to do the turning and the drilling and stuff like that now. The mold should really be about 300 degrees, and I've tried to heat it up to there with that propane bottle over there. The lead is it's up around the 800 degrees now, and was closer to 900. So even if that mold isn't hot enough, I pour into it a couple of times, it should get hot enough. Let me get some of the more of the slag off the top. There. Okay. So this gravy ladle is not a bottom pour, which is a disadvantage, but we're going to use it anyway. I don't know if they filled it up or not. That filled it up. Okay, so we'll wait a little bit here and see if it cools down right. I tried to get the temperature of that mold with this little guy in here, but this thing's not very good with shiny surfaces. According to that, according to the clamp, it's 194 degrees over in the black area on that clamp. Like I say, this guy won't give a right reading off the shiny surface. I thought at one time I could check bed temperature with it, but it didn't turn out like that. So I'm gonna stop the camera and try to discombobulate this thing and see if it turned out good. Alright, so I've got some screwdrivers. We'll pry this thing open and see what we've got. Okay, well, there we are. There's a flywheel. See if I can get it to come out of there. I tapered the edges in the hope that it would fall out, but it's not really falling out. It's a little bit too cold. You can see the wrinkles in it. The mold's still too cold. Let me go whack it on something. I'll be right back. Okay, there it is, kind of wrinkled up. It's not hot enough yet. I'll just drop that in there and we'll start over. It's back. Okay, I've gone through a whole lot off camera, but this looks like a pretty perfect flywheel, except for, you know, machining the edges of it nice and smooth. And this was with the mold cold. Actually, what I had to do was to go back and make the hole where the sprue is a lot bigger. By the time I was pouring my second ladle of stuff in there, the stuff inside had already cooled down, and a lot of it was running over the side instead of going inside. Now the mold is still relatively cold, but we're going to pour it in there one more time. And this darn spoon is too hot for my gloves to hold on to. I need a bottom pour ladle, or else I'm going to have to modify this melter here to pour straight down into it. This is a bottom pour melter, and if I could get it right up above that, I could just open the bottom and pour it until it was completely full. But it looks like that I've got it whipped, because I'm now able to get the material in it. And even with a relatively cold mold, the wheel comes out pretty good, so I think I'm willing to declare this thing pretty much of a success. I'll have a lot of cleaning up here to do in a little bit, because got all that molten lead in the melter. I'm not going to make a whole bunch of flywheels because I don't have an engine project going on right now, so I probably will later. But right today I don't need a bunch of flywheels. Mostly I wanted to prove the concept, and so we're a little bit better debugged now than we were this morning, and everything's better. So it's a good thing I paid attention to Mr. Pete's screwdriver holes. I'd never be able to get this thing apart. Okay, I dropped one of the locating pins every time. They're both in there. Here's another flywheel. This one's going to be just fine. You can see it's formed. All the spokes are all there. This I'll save these two flywheels for machining. I may even machine them before I finish this video. I don't know. But things are looking good, and I'm going to call this a success. I'm sure if I sit here and cast 20 pounds of flywheels, well, I'd have a whole bunch of them that are just totally slicker than snot, but that's good enough today. It's starting to rain out here, and I got some other things that I probably need to do. Well, I lied. I went ahead and cast more flywheels until I got down so low in the pot that I couldn't get a good dipper full. And I got about 5 good ones. This is a bad one. It's going to have to be rerun, but I got 5 good ones there, and they could be a lifetime supply for me. You don't know. So at this point, I'm going to call the job a success, and I'm going to pick up the my toys and stuff here. Alright, this will be a good one to learn on because got a little imperfection on this boat. So if I don't fumble around here and drill my finger off or something, we'll try and poke a hole in it. That should leave me enough room to run a 3/16 reamer down through there. I've got one right here, and we'll work up to that next. Okay. First, I guess, first job is to drill holes in all these flywheels. Okay, had one try to sneak off there. But as you can see, the most of them, the spokes are perfect, the wheels are perfect. This is a really nice looking one, and the best looking ones were done when the mold was actually, the mold got cold while I was drilling bigger holes in the top of it. And the first 2 I did after that came out better than any of them had. So that was encouraging. So I guess now we get down to the reaming part. I don't know if this, usually I cut a whole lot of the video out, so I'm probably just talking to myself here. And this will either fast forward or cut out or something. I've got to set them over here because that thing vibrates so much they want to come off of there. Hopefully that's 3/16 of an inch. And I'm going to continue on with this off camera because there's no point in showing all of that over and over. Okay, I'm making cuts here about 2/1000ths of an inch on a side, and we've got a really sharp little tool bit, and it's still hard to do. This could take hours just to cut one flywheel. I need some sort of a collet to put in my truck. I don't have anything like that. So I'm probably going to do one flywheel and then stop until I get more equipment later. You can see that's a nice little chip. I have to make a 2/1000 cut and barely feed it by hand here, or else they'll catch and start turning. So, rather than bore you to death watching that for an hour or so, I show you what I'm doing, and I'm going to turn this off, and we'll come back later. Alright, the outside rim's not so bad, huh? I finally got it down to the point where I could just put it on automatic feed and let it move across, and I was still cutting 2/1000ths every cut. Now all I've got to do is to cut these sides, and I'll be through with making one flywheel. So I'll continue that off camera so that you're not bored after that too. Alright, now I've got one side cut and I've got the rim cut. This chuck's about 10 thousandths, you know, off when you put something in the middle of it. So this flywheel will probably be a little bit a little bit eccentric when it's running on the axle. I don't know, but I don't have one of those $10,000 chucks that comes out perfect every time, so I'll have to work up some kind of a jig to put into the 4-jaw chuck and mount these up so that they'll be dead on every time. But that'll be for the next flywheel. Okay, there we are. It's been faced off on back side and the front side, and cleaned up around in a circle there. I'm not going to go putting the set screw part in there yet, because number one, I don't know what size drill I need or anything, because I don't have any of the set screws. So I'll save that for whenever and if ever that I get an engine built, and who knows, I may start on that before very much longer. And but I learned an awful lot of things doing this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Some of the lessons I learned doing this is there's simply no substitute for having the right tools, which I don't necessarily have exactly the right tools. If I'd had a rotary table for that little mill there, I could have cut the mold out really quick. You know, it would have taken probably a third of the time that I spent doing it on the lathe. At least I think that that's the way it would have gone. And the second thing was, my mold was too tall and I couldn't get it under the bottom of the pot. I needed to make continuous pours, and scooping that stuff out with a gravy spoon wasn't too good, because there was a couple times I thought I'm just going to let go of this gravy spoon because it's too hot. 800-degree gravy spoon was a little bit much for the gloves I was using. But the next time around that I do these, I will have a jig built to hold this dead center so that everything is really a lot truer. I'll have a shorter mold that I can get under the pot and do the pour all in one whack. And I think everything should go a whole lot better then. And who knows, maybe I'll make another mold sometime if and when I get a rotary table, and we'll see just how long that takes to make something. But I guess maybe the next project will be, who knows what it'll be. Maybe it'll be a little engine. Oh, and another thing, this is just plain old rain scrap, this lead here. It's not as hard as the wheel weight lead that Mr. Pete uses, and so I don't know if anybody has wheel weight lead. They're keeping it a secret where they're getting it. It's getting harder to come by, but I'll get some linotype while I can still get it. And the next ones of these I pour will be a lot harder. This is pretty soft stuff. All the cutting I did on that was run the tool in 2/1000ths of an inch, you know, and I never got in any hurry because I figured I would mess the whole thing up right at the last minute if I got greedy and started making big cuts. So at least I succeeded in making a flywheel, and I learned what to do next for the next batch of flywheels, and I learned, you know, in general, better practices than what I did this time. So there you go. I appreciate you watching, and subscribe if you can kind of reach over and click that button. And the little gear beside the subscribe button, you can go in and click those things there and you'll get notified every time I make a video. Thank you.